Now, I was just listening to the car radio, and the pundits were saying again that there's no way that the Republicans don't have an advantage in this midterm election. And you know why? Two reasons they gave. One was that Republicans always have an advantage in midterm elections because their base tends to vote more steadily than Democrats' base does. Who is that? They're talking about? They're talking about older white men. They go out and they vote. Well, I mean, there are far more of us than there are of older white men. If you count young people and women and people of color and immigrants and all sorts of them, you add those all up and there are a whole lot more of us than there are older white men, right? So, excuse me, if we all went and voted our one little vote, it would add up to more than the older white men. So that's one thing. The other thing they said is that Barack Obama's poor popularity ratings right now, poor approval ratings, are hindering our going out and voting because his ratings, some of them were saying, are in the low 40s or are in the low 20s in, say, Alaska, where there's a Senate race coming up. Well, you know, half of the country, not half, but a good portion of the country never did like Obama, and another portion of the country has soured on Obama a little bit, partly because of the constant pounding that Republicans have given him, partly because of the constant pounding that Fox News has given him, and partly because nothing can happen when there's an obstructionist house in there. So poor Obama is trying to right the wrongs that he got inherited from the Bush administration, and he's trying to do all sorts of stuff that just doesn't happen. The economy is picking up. Things are getting better, but people are tired. They're tired of all that negativity, and so they tend to equate that with the president. What the pundits don't ever say, however, is that the Republican pundits and the Republicans never, ever, 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 ever mention that the Republican House approval ratings are probably lower than that of stinkworms. Think about it. How many people approve of the Republican House? The Congress? I can't imagine. I'll look it up and I'll tell you at some point, but really, 40% approval rating versus a -0 approval rating? Really? Come on. So, it's time. It's time for the majority of us to pick ourselves up on the 4th of November, which is a Tuesday, find out where our polling place is, and go vote. We need to vote for a Democrat. You find your polling place, you find your Democrats, you vote for them. It could change our world. Believe it or not, it really could. We could have a much nicer government than we've had in a long time. We could have a government that cares about climate change. We could have a government that cares about inclusivity instead of exclusivity. It's time. We're talking about a